Hi guys, it's Jamie here, and today we're going to be making our Provence journal. I've become a bit of a fan of what I consider purse size or handbag size journals because I like how they feel, and also with such pretty papers I don't necessarily want to do a ton of decoration. I want it to be used more as a notebook style. Therefore, my journal is 4 inches across, which is 10 centimeters by 8 inches in length, 20 centimeters. When choosing and cutting down the papers, to be able to come up with an edge where no papers are sticking out, I was taking 1 millimeter off each paper, as I knew they would work through the journal. So 1 millimeter for Americans is that tiny little mark there. Or you can just work on the concept of a slither off, which means before you even start to consider putting the journal together, making the cover, when you put your papers together, you need to know what order you want them to go in, because each one is getting slightly smaller in width as you go through the journal. Very quickly, I'm going to run through the order that I've chosen. Here I've got lilac against lilac. Same on this one. And we're starting to get some beiges in. Back to our lilacs. Some of the scene. Lilac, dark lilac. Wallpaper. Some more lilac, and then through to central piece, which is a bit smaller because I actually really like the menu and almost wanted this to feel like it was a big menu in a restaurant. In addition to the Provence papers, I have also used the Lavender Fields papers from our paper collection, but that is the only extras I have in here. And I have one 12 by 12 coordinating piece of card, medium cardstock. I want this to feel a bit more like a soft cover journal than a hardcover journal, therefore there is no spine. I've simply folded it in half. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut that down so that it will be slightly bigger than our journal. I think 4.5 inches or 11.5 centimeters, a good size for the journal cover on width, and then something similar on height. We're looking at 8.5 inches, 22 centimeters. Something else I like to do, but this is personal choice, is I like to have corners rounded off, and also I'm going to go over all the edges with some vintage photo, and that will mean going around every page that I've got, and also the spines. When you do the spine, you need to go both sides and also turn your paper the other way and do the inside spine. This is going to be something we're going to do for every single paper in the journal. 10 double printed papers on 120 GSM white paper. Once you're happy the papers have been prepared, you want to make sure that they're lined up, that everything is going down into that central point neatly, so that when you close it, it's still a neat looking journal. The next thing to do will be to measure along this spine, and I'm going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Whatever distance from the bottom up I come, and I've got to take into account this slightly shortened central piece, is the same as the distance from the top down. So taking into account that shortened central piece, I'm going to be going at 17. So that's 3 up from the bottom. Therefore, I'm going to go 3 centimeters down from the top. Inch terms, that's about 1.25 inches. Now I have where I will be punching some holes for doing the stitching. I'm going to roughly line up my internal pages into my cover and then clip everything together. I'm going to take a book that has a decently deep spine area so I can rest my journal into that spine. Grabbing an awl, I'm going to punch through everything all at the same time. And that's gone all the way through that spine area as well. It's quite faint, but we'll have a needle and we'll be able to get through that. Your needle, you're going to want a large eye or a bookbinding needle. You can buy a small kit if you don't already have one, which will have your awl in it, some wax threads and a needle. I'm not using a wax thread. I'm going to wax a thread because I want a matching one. You want 3 times the length of the journal spine. You do not have to wax the thread. You can just sew it as it is. I prefer to wax it because I think it just makes it easier to do the binding, because the thread becomes stiffer, there's less fibres to catch on the paper, that type of thing. The way I'm waxing it is I'm using natural beeswax and I'm just pulling the thread through the beeswax so that the thread gets coated with wax. You can tie a knot if you want, but you don't have to. You can just hold on to the thread. We'll start at the centre and we're going to go through all those central holes. Then I'll go down to the bottom and go back through, outside in, go all the way to the top and through that top hole, then through that central hole to come the other side of that vertical central thread there. So you end up with threads either side. Pull it tight and then knot it. Now you don't want it too tight because you want to be able to move things about. You want it to lie against that spine. Knot it a few times. I tend to do 3. Then it's up to you how much thread you leave in the centre. Some people like to leave a longer thread, add some beads to it. I'm leaving enough of a thread. And that is actually our pages into our notebook. In our next tutorial, we'll be doing the cover, decorating it and adding a closure. When we decorate it, that will make our cover a lot stronger because we'll be adding layers to it.